Hello and welcome back to the Tik-A Tee method. The road to week 30's journey has finally concluded. Here we are at week 30. In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about a brand new tuplet, as well as brand new Tik-A Tee verbiage that accompanies that tuplet. I'm going to be talking about 16th note triplets in simple time signatures, and what that Tik-A Tee verbiage is to vocalize those rhythms. We're going to learn all about 16th note triplets. We're going to do a couple of exercises together. I hope you're going to stick around for the whole video because I'm going to get started right now. Okay, here we are on the first page of week 30, and as you can see, there's a lot to discuss here. But before I get into the math and the vocalization of 16th note triplets, let's first talk about what they look like in music notation. How can we as musicians recognize them right away? Well, there are two different ways to notate 16th note triplets. The first way is in this little triangle here. It's very similar to 8th note triplets, but instead of a single beam connecting our three notes, there are two beams. One beam equals 8th note, two beams equals 16th notes. So you'll have two beams connecting three notes with a little 3 above it here, and then a little slur or a brace that connects those. A lot of publishers will do it in different ways. Sometimes they won't have the little curvy line. Sometimes they'll just have the 3. But that's the most common way to notate 16th note triplets in music notation. And if you have an entire beat like this right here that I just boxed, then you would have 6 16th note triplets, one grouping of 3 followed by another grouping of 3. Now, when you take up an entire beat like that, some publishers, instead of putting a 3 and a 3, will prefer to use this 6 with a bracket here and just connect all 6 of those 16th notes. These are referred to as sextuplets. Sextuplets are equivalent to 16th note triplets. They're the same thing. That can be a little bit confusing, but music publishers, especially when you have an entire beat filled with 16th note triplets, will often put a 6 with a bracket as opposed to a grouping of 3 and then another grouping of 3. But you'll see it both ways. All right, next, let's look at the diagram in the center of the page here to understand a little bit more about the math behind 16th note triplets. In this top example, I've got a measure in 2/4. 2 beats in the measure, the quarter note gets the beat, and in this measure, I have 2 quarter notes. What does that sound like? Ta, 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 ta. There's 2 measures right there of quarter notes in 2/4. In the example beneath that, I've got some borrowed division here from compound. I've got our 8th note triplets. What does this sound like? Triplet, triplet. There's one measure. Triplet, triplet. And there it is. Now, if we were to break this down even further, now we're starting to get into 16th note triplets, which is on the left-hand side, or the alternate notation sextuplets on the right-hand side. Again, they are the same thing. Publishers will use one or the other based upon usually how much of a beat is taken up by these 16th note triplets, as I discussed a moment ago. Anyway, let's look at the example on the left. You'll notice the 1 and the 2 here above these, because there are 6 16th notes per beat in simple time signature. And in this case, we have 2 beats in the measure, so we're going to have 6 16th notes on beat 1 and 6 16th notes on beat 2. Now, let's talk a little bit about how the verbiage for the Tik-A Tee method adapts to 16th note triplets. And understanding the Tik-A Tee verbiage for 16th notes is really important in order to really go deeper into what the math of 16th note triplets is. And here's why. When I was developing this method, and again, I did not create all of these words myself. I took the best parts of different methods, whether it's the counting method, the Kodai, the Gordon, the Takadimi, so forth and so on, and just took all the pieces of those that worked. But one of the most important things that I wanted to make happen in the Tik-A Tee method was this. To be able to say rhythms at any tempo without twisting up your tongue, that's one. And number two, to have the Tik-A Tee verbiage work in any time signature. Simple, compound, complex, composite. So in order to pronounce, in order to vocalize 16th note triplets, you can't really say triplet fast enough. Depends on who you are and so forth and so on and what the tempo is. Triplet, 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 triplet. Yeah, you probably could do that, but as it gets faster, I wanted to think of a way to vocalize 16th note triplets that made sense as a vocalist or an instrumentalist. Now, a lot of wind players do a technique called double tonguing. And the words that I chose for 16th note triplets actually derive from the idea of double tonguing. Diddle-la. Diddle-la, 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 diddle-la. You can say that pretty fast. So if you've got a tempo that's right here, ta, ta, triplet, triplet, diddle-la, 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 diddle-la. You can actually say that without it tripping up your tongue and without you having to stumble over the rhythm itself. So understanding the math kind of coincides here with understanding the verbiage in the Tik-A Tee method. I hope that helps. I hope that makes sense. And you'll notice that the verbiage for sextuplets on the right-hand side here is identical to the verbiage for 16th note triplets because, again, they're the same thing. Now, let's dive a little bit more into the math behind 16th note triplets. I'm going to take this 2/4 measure up here with the 2 quarter notes, and I'm going to break that down into 4 eighth notes. Now, we should know that 4 eighth notes is equivalent to 2 quarter notes, is equivalent to a full measure in 2/4. T, 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 and there it is. Now, 16th note triplets can be derived from 1 eighth note. 1 eighth note can be divided equally into 3 parts. And there it is. There's your 16th note triplets. I'll do that again for this one. 1, 2, 3, 2 beams, a little 3 with a little bracket, and you'll notice now that there are 6, if I was to put an invisible bar line here, there are 6 16th note triplets taking up 1 beat in this 2/4 measure. So we have T, 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 diddle-a, 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 if I was to continue this down here and subdivide this into 6 more. All right, and again, if they were sextuplets, it would still be diddle-a, diddle-a. All right, that idea of double tonguing to get these in here. Now, the most important part mathematically to know here about 16th note triplets is that 1 eighth note can be divided into 3 equal parts, and those 3 equal parts are indeed your 16th note triplets. And if you want to think a little bit more about the subdivision of how 16th note triplets work, you can look at this diagram down here at the bottom. I've got another measure here in 2/4. And in the top example, this one right here, I've got quarter note triplets on the top and then eighth note triplets on the bottom. And if we recall from previous weeks, 2 eighth note triplets equals 1 quarter note triplet. So you can see as I box these that every quarter note triplet will equal 2 eighth note triplets. Here's what that measure sounds like over 2 beats. 1, 2, ready, and triplet, triplet, triplet. And if I do the eighth notes first, triplet, triplet, triplet. The important thing to recognize here is that that's over 2 beats. When we break this down into eighth note triplets and 16th note triplets, the same math applies. 1 eighth note triplet is equivalent to 2 16th note triplets, and I can make these boxes all the way across to represent that. 2 16th note triplets equals 1 eighth note triplet. But if I was to say this bottom exercise, it's only 1 beat in this 2/4 measure. 1, 2, here it is. Triplet, diddle-a, diddle-a. In reverse order, ready, and diddle-a, diddle-a, triplet. Again, that's just 1 beat. Now, if I was to do 2 full beats and take up 6 eighth note triplets and 12 16th note triplets, here's what it sounds like. 1, 2, ready, and triplet, triplet, diddle-a, 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 diddle-a. Reverse order, diddle-a, 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 triplet, triplet. And that's the subdivision. So these borrowed divisions, we're borrowing from compound to simple here with quarter note triplets, eighth note triplets, and 16th note triplets. The difference, as you can tell as we get faster, I had to change that verbiage for the 16th note triplets because triplet will work for half note triplets in cut time, quarter note triplets in simple time, eighth note triplets in simple time, but not for 16th note triplets. We want to be able to say them smoothly without tripping up over the words and the rhythm. I hope this helps. Okay, you know what time it is. We need to take everything that we've just learned on this page and put it into practice. Let's go find our first exercise. Here we are at exercise 30A, the first exercise in week 30, but most importantly, it has all of the Tik-A Tee verbiage included, which will prove to be very helpful as we analyze this exercise. And remember, all the exercises in week 30 are in 2/4. 2 beats in the measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. Let's get to the analysis. In measure 1, we've got a quarter note here right on beat 1, followed by an invisible bar line, and then on beat 2, we have an entire beat of 16th note triplets notated as sextuplets. But remember, did-da-la will still be the verbiage. Going on to measure 2, nice easy measure, a quarter note on beat 1, invisible bar line, and a quarter rest on beat 2. In measure 3, we've got some more borrowed division in the form of eighth note triplets. Beat 1 will be these 3 eighth note triplets. Beat 2 will be this eighth note rest, right? That eighth rest in the triplets, and then finished off with the paulette, paulette, right? We talked about rest within triplets in previous weeks. Measure 4, we've got a quarter note on beat 1, invisible bar line, and then beat 2 is really fun. We have an eighth rest on beat 2 with 3 16th note triplets coming in on the upbeat. Now, let's talk about this. One beat in 2/4 can be filled up by 6 16th note triplets, or a group of sextuplets. 6 divided by 2 equals 3, which means I can have 3 16th note triplets on the front end of a beat, or I can have 3 16th note triplets on the second half of a beat, the upbeat, and that's what's happening here in measure 4. Here's what it sounds like. Ta, diddle-a. So you can hear that upbeat. Ta, diddle-a. All right, so we have an eighth rest, so we're not going to say any 16th note triplets on beat 2 of the first half of that beat, only the second half. All right, let's move on to measure 5. And in that first measure on the second line, we've got some more borrowed division in the form of eighth note triplets, followed by an invisible bar line. Then on beat 2, we've got this quarter note, ta, tied over the bar line into measure 6. So I'm going to write a 1 with a parentheses here because we are not going to re-articulate that eighth note on beat 1. However, we will articulate this eighth note on the upbeat of beat 1. We follow that up with an invisible bar line. On beat 2, we have Tik-A. Going on to measure 7, we have the reverse of that, Tik-A Tee on beat 1. Our invisible bar line will go right here. And then, just like in measure 4, we have beat 2, an eighth rest, and the upbeat of beat 2, we've got 3 16th note triplets. So again, we have a rest on the first half of that beat. The second half of that beat, the upbeat, will be 3 16th note triplets. Going on to the final measure, we have diddle-a, 3 16th note triplets being beamed over to an eighth note T here. Diddle-a Tee. Diddle-a Tee. So these 3 16th notes can be beamed to an eighth note to finish off that beat. If we were to bracket this right here, that would be all of beat 1. That takes up the whole beat. So our invisible bar line will go right here, and beat 2 will be this ta, hold it out all the way till beat 1. So as you can see now, we're combining some rhythms. We've got an eighth rest and then 3 16th notes, triplets, then we have 3 16th note triplets beamed to an eighth note. All of those take up one full beat in 2/4. Some really fun rhythms in this exercise. You know what we need to do now. We've got to find a tempo that we're happy with and try to sight read, vocalize, perform this exercise. I hope you'll join me. Let's go do it. All right, I've already found a tempo that I like for this exercise that I'm comfortable with. That's 62 beats per minute, or in 2/4, the quarter note equals 62. I've also changed it to 2/4 in the metronome so that there's 2 beats in each measure. As you can see, I'm using the metronome again here from drummers-pulse.com. So thank you to the folks at that website for offering up a free metronome. All right, as far as the analysis of this exercise, I am going to clear all of this ink because even though we analyzed it really nicely, I think we can see it more clearly with the verbiage and the music notation itself, and we're going to perform it as it is. All right, I'm going to get the metronome started. I'm going to perform this on a G3. You're welcome to join me on that pitch, an octave lower, an octave higher, or a different note altogether. But again, in these videos, the idea is that you vocalize, that you perform these exercises with me. All right, let's get started. Here's our tempo. And here's the pitch I'll be singing this on, which is a G3. I'm going to give us a 2-measure count off, then we are off to the races. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and ta, diddle-a, diddle-a, ta, triplet, paulette, ta, diddle-a, triplet, ta, tee, tee, Tik-A, Tik-A Tee, diddle-a, diddle-a, tee, ta. All right, let's stop that metronome. All right, there it is. So you can hear how the diddle-a diddle-a kind of rolls off the tongue. It's easy to say. You can say it smoothly without tripping up over the words or the rhythm. All right, so we performed this exercise. I hope you did it with me, but we don't know if we did it correctly. We now have to go to my website, find the MP3 reference recording or quote-unquote answer for exercise 30A and see if we did it right. Let's go find that recording right now. All right, if you've been watching my previous videos, you know what your 3 options are when you get to my website and find the MP3 quote-unquote answer to the exercise you've been working on. Option number 1, just listen to the exercise and check for your accuracy that way. Option number 2, vocalize along with the MP3. Or option 3, break out your instrument, especially if it isn't the voice, and perform along with the MP3. All right, without further ado, I'm going to press play on exercise 30A. One, 2, ready, and ta, diddle-a, diddle-a, ta, triplet, paulette, ta, diddle-a, triplet, ta, tee, tee, Tik-A, Tik-A Tee, diddle-a, diddle-a, tee, ta. And there you have it, exercise 30A. So if you didn't choose option 3 yet, you really need to perform these exercises on your instrument before proceeding to that next rhythmic concept. 1, 2, ready, and all right, let's move on to the next exercise, 30F. Now this one does not have the Tik-A Tee verbiage included, and it's got some more fun challenges. Let's get to the analysis. Right here on beat 1, we've got this really cool combination of 2 16th notes beamed to 3 16th note triplets. Now we know that 3 16th note triplets can be beamed to an 8th note because we just had that in exercise 30A. Well, 1 8th note equals 2 16th notes. So mathematically, this entire phrase right here will be beat 1 in 2/4. Tik-A diddle-a. That's the words. And that again will flow off the tongue very, very nicely. But we do have to make sure that we're getting the rhythm correct. 2 16th notes in a simple time signature, and then 3 16th note triplets borrowed from a compound time signature have two different feels. So combining those two feels is really an important skill that we're going to practice here in exercise 30F. All right, so our invisible bar line, let me just back up here, erase that bracket. Invisible bar line is going to squeeze right in here, and I have the reverse image now of what we had on beat 1. On beat 2, we have the 3 16th note triplets happening first, and then 2 16th notes. Let me demonstrate what measure 1 will sound like. 1, 2, ready, and tick-a diddle-a diddle-a tick-a. I'll do that again. Ready, and tick-a diddle-a diddle-a tick-a. You can hear how I have that simple time signature happening, tick-a, and then I'm borrowing from compound and getting that triplet feel happening on those 16th note triplets, a skill that needs to be acquired over time. Let's move into measure 2. In measure 2, I have the same thing happening again, but in the reverse order. I've got beat 1 with the 3 16th note triplets going to 2 16th notes, invisible bar line, and then beat 2, 2 16th notes going to 3 16th note triplets. Let me demonstrate measure 1 and measure 2 combined. Here it is. 1, 2, ready, and tick-a diddle-a diddle-a tick-a diddle-a tick-a tick-a diddle-a. That's actually a lot of fun once you get the hang of going between 16th notes and 16th note triplets. Let's move on to measure 3. Measure 3, we have a simple T tick-a, which now seems very simple after measures 1 and 2. Then we have an invisible bar line, 2 8th notes here on beat 2, and then in measure 4, we have some syncopation. Beat 1, this 8th rest, the upbeat of beat 1, an 8th note, then an invisible bar line. Beat 2 is this 8th rest, and the upbeat of beat 2 is this 8th note. All right, so a couple of simple measures here, followed by a couple of pretty complex measures in 1 and 2. Let's move on to measure 5. And in that first measure on the second line, it gives us a great opportunity to practice going from a simple time signature rhythm like 4 16th notes into a borrowed division like 6 16th note triplets, in this case written notated in the form of sextuplets. Let's check it out. So on beat 1 in measure 5, we have tick-a tick-a, 4 16th notes, tick-a 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 tick-a. But on beat 2, we then dive right into 6 16th note triplets notated as sextuplets. It's still diddle-a because it is the same exact rhythm. Diddle-a 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 diddle-a. So being able to go from tick-a 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 diddle-a 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 is a skill that really does need to be acquired and is actually fun once you get the hang of it. Moving on to measure 6, we have tick-a tick-a again, and we have the invisible bar line, but it kind of stays in this simple time signature groove with a Tik-A Tee on beat 2. Measure 7, we've got a taw, invisible bar line, and then we have the arrival again of this 8th rest, and then 3 16th note triplets on the upbeat of beat 2. A really, really fun rhythm, and we had the same exact thing happen twice in exercise 30A. In measure 8, we've got a quarter note on beat 1, invisible bar line, quarter rest on beat 2, and I would tell my students to write -2 here to make sure that we hold that quarter note out full value. All right, this exercise has some fun new challenges rhythmically and with the absence of the Tik-A Tee verbiage included in the exercise. So we're going to go get that metronome started. We're going to find our pitch. We're going to vocalize it. We're going to perform it together and sight read. Let's go do it. All right, for this one, I think I'm actually going to leave the ink on the page from our analysis. I don't think it's cluttering it up too much, and it might actually help you sight read a little bit better. All right, let's get this metronome started here. I'm going to stay at 62 beats per minute, or the quarter note equals 62 in 2/4. So there's our metronome. Here's my G3. This is what I'll be singing the exercise on, and I'm going to give us a 2-measure count off again for this exercise. All right, so be ready. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and tick-a diddle-a diddle-a tick-a diddle-a tick-a tick-a diddle-a tee, tick-a tee, 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 tick-a tick-a diddle-a diddle-a tick-a 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 tee, taw, diddle-a taw. All right, that was fun. Let's stop that metronome. Yeah, so you can hear how I'm going between 16th notes, that simple time signature feel, 8th notes, 16th notes, and quarter notes, to that borrowed division of those 16th note triplets or sextuplets, or just an upbeat of 3 16th note triplets. All right, we performed the exercise. We need to know if we did it correctly. Let's go to my website. Let's find the MP3 for exercise 30F and go find out. Okay, here we are back at my website. I'm all queued up here for exercise 30F. You know what your 3 options are, so without further ado, make your decision because here we go. One, two, ready, and.
Tik-A diddle-a diddle-a, tik-a diddle-a, tik-a tik-a diddle-a tee, tik-a tee tee. Tee, tee, ticka, ticka, diddle-a, diddle-a, ticka, 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 tee, taw, diddle-a, taw.
Yeah, there it is, exercise 30F. That's a really fun exercise, and as you can hear, it's a little bit faster than what we took it when we sight read. If you haven't chosen option 3, you know what you need to do before you can move on. You've got to play this exercise on your instrument. Let's go. One, two, ready, and. Well, I hope you had as much fun as I did in today's video, and I hope that you joined me on the road to week 30. Did you watch all of the videos from week 1 through week 29 and then cap it off with today's video? If you did, you are becoming an awesome rhythmic sight reader. I hope you learned all about 16th note triplets and sextuplets and our new Tik-A Tee verbiage, diddle-a diddle-a. So what do we have now? We have ta, tee, ticka ticka, triplet, and diddle-a diddle-a to represent 16th note triplets. You are now ready for week 31. Spoiler alert, week 31 is sort of a non-rhythmic concept. It's going to be a fun one. You'll have to stay tuned to find out what it's all about. In the meantime, I hope you'll check out my book, Rhythmic Sight Reading, The Tik-A Tee Method. It's available in coil binding at my website, roncastingway.com. It's also available in perfect binding on Amazon and at jwpepper.com. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and that notification bell so you get the latest video. I really appreciate your support of the channel and cannot wait to bring you week 31.